want to touch upon something that you've all touched upon a little bit, but just to speak to this in a little bit more detail. As a line 2, profile line human design, when you have a stretch where you don't have that downtime, don't have that hermiting opportunity, don't have that, chance to integrate, tap into your creativity, and all the joy that comes from, the hermit, that hermit time. What happens? Like, what's your experience like when you're like, right? You're not like, no hermit time, no hermit time. So Kerstin, I want to start with you because you were talking about the difficulty of actually having to do that. So you have, you've had a lot of experience up until, I guess, more recently of like just not kind of totally ignoring that and bypassing that.
Mm-hmm. So I feel frustrated. I even like with others, I don't have any patience. I get aggressive, like when the kids come and go away. So it's really, I'm really unbalanced. So I would say frustrated and even aggressive towards others and without any reason, like they can't do anything. It's just me, not having any patience anymore.
Got it. Yeah. Lisa?
I'm remembering back to when I had stepchildren and I had a sign on the door that said, "Do not come in unless the house is on fire." Little snippets throughout the day. Do you need everything? Are you okay? Good. I'm going to go be by myself for a little while. So yes, when things get imbalanced for me, the first thing that I notice, as I mentioned, is the joy goes. That's the first thing, is how I'm feeling emotionally, and just, starts to get a little bit heavier. I'm like suddenly not happy. And then my physical body just gets completely depleted. I have experienced periods of burnout in my life in my younger years before I realized my design, when I was operating more on a 4, more as a manifesting generator than a manifester. And yeah, so for me, it looks like the joy goes and then physical depletion and exhaustion. And yeah, and then I just go by feel, and I know that I need to protect my solitude. It's really important. And it's actually necessary for my physical well-being as well as my emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you. Love that. Corissa, do you how does that show up for you when you're not giving your 2 the love and support that it needs?
I would definitely resonate with what Kerstin said. I feel like I don't have much patience. I'm more irritable. Things tend to bother me more than they would normally. So it's sort of like it takes me away from that feeling of peace for sure. And sometimes it can even lead to a bit of anxiety. It's just like I just start feeling like flustered and anxious. And I feel like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I need to like just step away from everything and just be alone and be by myself.
And you were talking about, there can be a challenge when you have family and you have kids and you have people wanting your attention, and, how do you manage that in that particular circumstance?
So it can be really hard. I get up at 5 a.m. every morning, literally to spend 2 hours, if I can, meditating and journaling. And it's hard. Like my kids will come into the room and they'll start talking to me and they'll start asking me questions. And if I haven't had enough time before they come in, I do find myself kind of like getting a little like short with them or getting like a little frustrated. So it can be really, really hard. The best time for me is when they're at school and my husband's in the office, because then I know if I don't have any appointments with clients or anything like that, I take advantage of that time and make sure that I'm getting out into nature and I'm spending that time alone so that I can be a better mom and a better partner when everyone comes back home, that evening or that afternoon. So it's hard. It's a balance and it's a juggle, but
yeah. I can definitely see how, as a 2, once you start really understanding what that means and what you need personally, is the next step is really communication and the boundaries, right? Setting up those boundaries, be like, I need this time. This is me time, and this is a non-negotiable. And you know, I can see how that can be difficult for some people, especially if they're not accustomed to setting boundaries. Sometimes an emotional, like an open emotional solar plexus can have, you know, can create a challenge there too, right? There's the challenge in the open or undefined solar plexus being people pleasing, right? You want to avoid confrontation. And now you're sort of in the battle of like what your own needs are versus other people's needs. And yeah, Kerstin, I would love for you to jump in and share a little bit more.
Yeah. So I just, while you were just talking, at the thought about like communication, and I feel I communicate a lot, but I actually don't, because it all happens in my head. So I don't know if Corissa and Lisa, how you experience it, but I do a lot of, I actually have conversations in my head, and I think that I have shared that with my husband, who's also my partner in business. And then he said, well, we don't talk enough. And I thought, well, didn't we talk a lot? But actually we didn't, because it's all in my head. So it's quite busy in there, but it's sometimes it really takes, I feel like I have to think all those things through, have to discuss them with myself, because before I share it. And while I'm in there, I think, well, everybody should know it, but of course they don't, because it's all happening in here. I don't know. I would love to know, Corissa and Lisa, is that similar to you, or is it just the unconscious too?
Yes, Corissa, jump on in. Oh, sorry, Lisa.
Sorry if I'm not waiting my turn.
Oh, you lovely manifester. I will absolutely be getting to you. Corissa, I'll jump to you first to respond to Kerstin. And also, you talked about having a totally open solar plexus here, living with some emo beings running around. So
yes. So I live in a house full of manifesting generators, 2 of which are emotionally defined, and my solar plexus is totally open. So I have dealt with the people pleasing my whole entire life. And it's been very hard for me to set the boundaries, especially with my children, because as a mom, I feel like we have this mom guilt already that, you know, we want them to be happy and we need to make sure that we're meeting their needs and that they don't feel like we're not there for them, or we're not supporting them. So it can be really, really hard to set those boundaries, to take that alone time and not feel like I'm being selfish in any way. And so, yes, like I have to make sure that I am informing them, because that works both ways, right? For manifesting generators, they need to be informing, but we also, other types, need to be informing them as well to kind of settle that energy field. And it's hard. It can be a really difficult thing, but making sure that I communicate and let them know when I'm getting those moments and where I'm feeling really frustrated of like, listen, I need my time right now. Like, I just need 15 minutes at least for right now. And then I'll take the rest of my alone time when I have more time available to me. But yeah, it's very difficult to, and I think that partly living with 2 emotional MGs, I need that alone time sometimes even more, because I am taking on those emotions too with my totally open solar plexus. I just need even more away, like alone time from them. So when they're not in the house, I feel a lot lighter and I don't need as much alone time. But when they're around and I'm with them all the time, or if we're traveling and we're all trapped in a hotel room for a week, like, oh my goodness, I need way more alone time to recharge for sure.
I am not laughing at you. I am laughing with you, only because yes, I can appreciate the challenge, you know, from a distance. I'm emotionally defined and I don't have children, but the way you're painting the picture, I'm like, oh yeah, I can relate. I can relate. So hats off to you. Lisa, you have the floor. Okay,
so yeah, it's interesting. There's so many things that people have said that I want to go back to. The boundaries piece and the people pleasing, I can really identify with that as well, even though I have a defined emotional solar plexus, because I have gate 19 and it's a big energy in my chart. It's my conscious sun. And it's a challenge to always feel and know and be attuned to what everybody else is needing and wanting. And then all this openness in my chart and having that sensitivity. And then, so yeah, I really had to dive into that and learn boundaries and learn assertiveness, and learn to inform. That was a skill I had to learn. Yeah, and I do inform and I do let people know, like, this is what I'm needing. And yeah, it is a balance for sure. And it's a tribal energy, you know, it wants to be and serve the tribe. And yet there's a time for that. It's all about timing. And I know that, you know, in my design, I'm mostly individual, you know, centering circuit and abstract sensing, but you know, there's this one tribal piece. It's pretty strong. And so I've had to learn to balance and to feel into what I already know what people are wanting and needing. It's the part about knowing what I'm wanting and needing that has been the challenge for me. Very similar to an open solar plexus. And I would say that there's a lot of challenges with the open sacral in that as well. Like I've lived with, when I had stepchildren, it was me and 2 manifesting generators and a generator. And it was very hard to get out of that sacral energy. A couple of them had gate 15, really big auras. Yeah. So it's just been a balance. And I protect my solitude now. I inform people, and I really feel that it's this inner yin foundation which enables any outer yang expression or movement or externalization. It has to happen. Yeah. And the other piece that I thought of earlier that I wanted to just add is I can relate to the creativity piece that both Corissa and Kerstin were talking about, because that is part of it that start when I'm feeling depleted or my joy is gone. Then that divine flow, that inspiration is less accessible. And it's generally when my body is physically tired. And so I've learned that even just to attract and be in my own flow, I have to make sure that I'm taking care of my energy. Yeah.
Love it.